Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny Birak, and I'm an astrologer and an energy healer, and I work with the vibration of Metatron, who I met as a child as the Holy Spirit. And we're going to talk about the full moon in Pisces and a lot of other things going on in the astrology right now. It was a really funny story. I actually started the video and told the story, but it's too long. I was like, okay, the story is going on and on, so I just started the video again. But the story of me attempting to make the video for, I don't know, like 4 hours. I think I made started at seven different times yesterday when it became painfully obvious that I had been right. And it was not the day to make the video. I had wanted to make it on Tuesday, and they were like, no, Friday or Saturday. So I wanted to make it last night, and it was just, door slamming shut, and I just kept pushing because someone had told me that it would be better to make it tonight. Oh, there goes a hawk. And, that's nothing to do with the person who told me. That was my own thing about inner trust and going with my instincts, trusting the messages that I'm getting instead of looking outside of myself. Kind of fell down on it yesterday, kind of dropped the ball on that one. But I learned at like 11:45, I was like, okay, I surrender. I won't be making the video today. It was almost tomorrow by then anyway, but yeah, I was like so fed up at that point. So that's what we're going to talk about a lot. Trusting ourselves and listening to our soul. And, what you find out after doing this long enough and going, into the past lives and all of the, I like one of the spiritual teachers that I had along the way used to use the term brain candy, when we get hung up on the galactics and it's all part of the illusion. And then we move all the way past that and we come into the like being in communion with the soul inside of us, our own inner sanctum, as they refer to it with me, and being at peace and at harmony within ourselves. Because really, until we're there, everything outside bothers us. We're critical of other people, where we can easily see other people's mistakes. And a lot of the reason that we don't is because there's, if you test, like say using kinesiology for what you believe in the subconscious, most likely an aspect of you, just like myself and so many clients, doesn't believe that the soul 100% approves of our choices. And it's really just that old story that somebody outside of us is dictating to us or critical of us. And depending on how we were raised, that could be amplified for some of us. And, Neptune and Pisces is about the fading out, everything of the illusion fading away and coming into a state of oneness, a state of peace and tranquility and harmony within ourselves, and realizing that you're not a drop of the ocean, as Rumi said, that you're the entire ocean in one drop, and that we can all come together and share the vibration of pure love and the higher octave of ourselves, connecting with other people that way rather than through martyrdom and obligation of service. I recently was looking at, I don't remember the astrology site that I was looking at, and it was talking about the Virgo Pisces axis, and it was serve or suffer, exclamation point. And that's really what, like subconsciously, just because we've had so many generations that have believed in religious dogma, that there is a program that goes on inside of us saying serve or suffer. And so we get involved with agreements, in agreements with people, and allow those to cloud that pure unconditional love connection that we have through like obligations to support them in whatever way, financially, emotionally. And then what happens is that we're all just sort of like leaning on each other, like we're each other's crutches, and nobody is like standing up and moving forward. So, and that's usually just things that go on within the soul family. And we're just now soul families, like in these times, learning to come together through harmonious cooperation as we're more tuned in to the creator and through the creator's vibration of pure love to the soul family, and not ties of ego anymore. So I'm glad that I get to do it today, because that means I get to be outdoors. Today it's only in the 70s, so not sweltering. I was a little schwitzy getting everything ready out here, but I think we're good. So yeah, this is what we're going to discuss, because, we had this past week, I know, was really rough with the Saturn-Mars square. Mars moving through Aries, coming up to, he hit Jupiter, then he hit Pluto, then he hit Saturn. And, Saturn and Mars traditionally are enemies. That's what the ancients believed. And, when they would clash in this way, there would be wars, and a lot of, terrible things would go down. The ancients always had a pretty dark view on what was happening, understandably. But that we feel that's sort of like that push-pull, and we can feel like we're really stuck. And Mars in Aries is really like, he is going for freedom. And, we've got Black Moon Lilith this week too, was sitting on top of Aries, the goddess of discord. And there was a lot of stuff going down, in case you missed it. It was interesting to me. Well, maybe we're not going to get into all that stuff. I don't want to muddy the waters of this video with politics, but it was an interesting week for a convention, and I am going to talk about the election coming up. We're going to do a little, I don't know who we'll have for that. I was going to do with Jesus, a house divided against itself, but I've been waiting for things to calm down. I don't think it's going to happen, because we've got this Saturn-Pluto, but squaring Mars, going on pretty much through the end of the year. Saturn moves out of Capricorn December 17th. So I've noticed in a lot of the tarot readings, a lot of things coming up about Christmas, because, we're going to feel a whole lot better when that's all done. So, but, as that's happening, other things are happening too. Nice things. The full moon in Pisces looks pretty good. It looks pretty nice. So, of course, when we talk about water with Pisces, then of course it's emotion. There's emotion involved, and full moons are always when something comes to fruition, or like, downloads and like, aha moments come flooding in. I have had quite a few of those in this past week. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I've things that I've questioned for years. And again, it was, where I just realized it was another time that I had listened to something that someone told me, and not, questioned, is that right? And thought that I made a huge mistake, and that it was, that it had cost me a lot of opportunities. But I really just, I could have figured it out on my own, but this is how we learn. And so it's important, like, not to be hard on ourselves, and just to recognize you're just a specimen of the creator. You're a piece of the universe, a spark of God, having a human experience. That's all it is. You're not answering to anyone. It's just you and your soul on this journey together. And it was important to make this video before the twin flame video, because this is where a lot of the confusion comes in with the twin flame. People, seeing it as something outside of themselves that's going to fulfill them and bring them into their, state of bliss. And it's really not until we have the soul connection within and the inner sanctuary, and we're satisfied and whole in that way, and then the partner comes in. It's nothing to do with a specific person or anything outside of us, any circumstance or situation that we think would bring us happiness. It's nothing to do with that. That's the illusion. So, and I appreciated all of the comments that you guys have left, and the emails that I've gotten. I know, like you, a lot of you, like me, have lost, relationships, friendships because of all of the conspiracy theories and that kind of stuff. I've literally pretty much everyone on the ground in my area am It's just me on my own now here, which is fine. And I'm just hoping that this passes quickly. Looking forward to that. So, let's talk about the full moon in Pisces. If you can't tell, it's really breezy here, so I'm trying to find safe places to set my props. Okay. So I'm going to give you the times. So this is happening on September 2nd for everyone. It's going on at 6:22 a.m. in London, so a 4, and I think you know a little bit about 4s, having lived through 2020. It's some kind of change that may not come about in the way that we had imagined it or what we think is the best. But there's definitely a shift, a change, and you can see that mirrored in the astrology because of the aspect that the moon is making to Uranus, and in numerology, Uranus is the number 4. So it's Chicago, 12:22 a.m. Is that right? That has to be p.m. Rio de Janeiro is 2:22 a.m. and then Sydney is 3:22 p.m. So let's look at the chart. Okay. So you can see down in the bottom there in the 5th house, which is like our gifts. I also look at it, the 4th house, I look at that as the inner child, but I also look at the 5th as like our childhood years. And it also represents leadership. So when you notice that Venus, who is close by the number 11, there she is, finishing out her time in Cancer. She is at the same degree as Heimdall, which means the guard of the bridge between heaven and earth. And I look at that as the Holy Spirit energy or the Metatron energy. That is in opposition to Saturn, Pluto, Pallas Athena. Gabriel is there. Saturn's there. Also, right in that cluster, which I don't have in this chart because I wanted to use some other asteroids, is Poseidon. And Poseidon is very close to Jupiter, and he is retrograde. So when we look at I have a feeling, I still say that the, water fire events are still prevalent right now. It's still going on in the astrology. And of course, then they are squaring that opposition of Venus and all of those, the big boys, the big rulers, the kings. They are squaring Mars, who is with Black Moon Lilith, and really Aries, you could count in that as well, is very close to Lilith, and Mars is just a couple of degrees different than Aries, and Aries is bigger than Pluto. When she was discovered, Pluto became a dwarf planet. So I see them as the modern rulers, Aries and Pluto of Scorpio. That's the way that I see them. I see Mars still as a traditional ruler of Scorpio, but that's that, change and transformation, going down to rubble and then rising again. So it's interesting to me that Mars and Black Moon Lilith are in the 8th house, and Mars, of course, represents the I am and, who it is that you are. So releasing stories of, like I talked about last time, I've been talking about this actually for a long time, that we're releasing stories of who we were taught we were, and the inner child taking in like the parents' unhappiness as something that was like a result of their actions or because of them, releasing all of that and building a new identity. And that's what we're going to be doing during this Mars retrograde period. It's really rebuilding self-worth. The 8th house is the house of worth. Now, if we're looking from like just a general public standpoint, like humanity kind of thing, that could be things that go on relating to money or dark secrets, other maybe kind of sexual secrets, dirty dealings kind of thing. That could be part of that story. Of course, this is the universal chart, so it's going to play out differently everywhere. But, we've had in this country this week, and only about half of the audience is in the United States. Sorry, I need to take a sip of water. But we had somebody who was really well known, and maybe for me, because I was raised in the evangelical church. His father was a really big deal. I'm not going to say his name, but, he lost his job, and there was this huge sex scandal. And you know what? I really, I don't see anything wrong with that and what they did. And I think a lot of people feel that way. Like, who cares? They're married. They could do what they want. But it's the fact that their morality was being shoved down everyone else's throats, and then they're being told they're going to go to hell. So, just expect to keep seeing that, because Jupiter being so close to that Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn, we're going to see the fall of a lot of gurus, yogis. We had it in the astrology community right about the same time that all of this went down with Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, and I did not address it. I didn't want to be involved in it. I'm going to have to pause because the refrigerator people are here. So I will be back in just a moment. Right. Sorry about that. It's the ongoing saga of the refrigerator installation, but we've moved past the old one. So we're doing well. I put a lot of money into my kitchen. Cancer is the kitchen, and Venus is money. And I've certainly made a lot of upgrades and investments in my kitchen out of necessity. So I'm happy that it's finished. But yeah, so anyway, I was talking about the fall of gurus and things like that. And it was another case of someone who always talks about the fall of the patriarchy. And I used to watch him before all of this happened, and I heard him reference women who use their sexuality and manipulate men. And that's part of this whole thing now that we're going through too, is this, I'm just the feminine being blamed as if, they have control over the penis that's not attached to them. It's really time to move on from that. And it was really his response to what he did that was pretty sickening, really making them out to be villains. These were girls that were 30 years his junior, looked up to him with reverence. One worked for him. And I don't really care if it's a female or a male, if you're a counselor or a teacher, in that capacity, and someone who carries that much authority and weight and as popular as he is in the world. If you know who it is, please don't say his name in the comments, but there is a sacred, we have a sacred duty as spiritual teachers and counselors, those of us that do this work, that you don't take advantage of someone who is 30 years your junior and idolizes you in a sexual way. And so I'm just letting you know that that's unfolding. That's continuing to unfold. Continuing saga, my higher self is saying. So that's also something that's going to keep going on. And hey, I'm always happy to see corruption brought to light. So just expect that that's going to be part of this ongoing. And I wouldn't even limit it to spiritual figures. I would say just authority figures. That we're going to see that falling, those people, those things coming to light. So I want to go back to the chart now. So if you notice, it's a little bit difficult to make out the kite. And with the moon, we give about 10 degrees leeway because of, she is just as meaningful as the sun. And points in the chart to ascendant, descendant, all of that, you should give about 10 degrees for conjunction. But when we look at the moon and Neptune coming together, of course, that's our psychic and intuitive gifts. The moon is also tied to the ancestors. And then, of course, Neptune and Uranus also being part of the soul family. They're all involved in that kite. And kites are magic. Kites are magic. They're not easy. Those of you who have kites in your chart like I do, they're magical, but they take some effort and some working through. And so, once again, it's allowing something to fall away and there being a new choice. And not falling back into the same programs of relationships that make us less than, or, cause us to lose confidence in ourselves and cause us to follow instead of going with ourselves and what is best for us and what we think, what we believe and we know to be true, allowing like outside influences to convolute. And there's been a lot of, Metatron has been showing me a lot in visions and dreams about the fog, and that we're in this sort of fog. And I've noticed it coming up a lot in tarot readings too, about the a universal secret and something that's unknown that is about to be revealed, kind of thing. And Pluto is wrapping up since 2008, being in Capricorn over this next period, like 2020 to 2023. We can expect, as he's hitting those end degrees of Capricorn, that there will be a lot of revelations. And that's going to be leadership of like corporations, like people in positions of wealth and power. And so we'll just, watch this all unfolding, never being attached to what's happening. If you follow my personal page, I do post a lot of things just sort of like, oh, look at this, because people seem to be going with the opposite of what's actually the truth right now, in so many situations, that it's just, it's amazing to me that this is happening. But Mars rules sight. And when he is blinded, going into this year, a 2020 year, it's going to be that things are right in front of us, but this fog that we have is in the way. And that was our astrology moving into 2020, and it's still relevant now, as Mars is squaring all of these big boys, and not able to see his way clearly. A lot of us don't know what's coming next, and we're just asked to be in a place of trust right now and surrender. And I, still say the mantra, I surrender to the process of my own transformation. You're surrendering to your soul, who loves you purely and unconditionally and only wants the best for you. And so, just like they kept telling me last night, as I was attempting over and over to make the video, my higher self, Metatron, kept saying to me, everyone, I just kept hearing over and over, it isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And so that's going to be the theme moving forward. It isn't happening to us. And, we talked last time about how all of these things and the money in politics and everything being shoved right in our face, like here's the corruption. And so we'll see if one term is enough to get it accomplished, that we finally take money out of politics. May not be enough of, lessons that we've finally recognized that it's wrong. And so on that note, I wanted to point out that the asteroid America is in what's called a trine. So it's a harmonious flow of energy to Chiron, who is in the 8th house. So that's the wound of self and worthiness, and that, how we like the worthiness that is projected back to us from other people too. And then Pandora's box, they're all in, or wait, no, that's a different one. Sorry. It's the Sphinx asteroid and Vesta. And the Sphinx asteroid, of course, is something that goes on in other places, in other realms, decisions made by the soul family, by the council. And, Vesta is a commitment that's being made. So it's almost like something that we aren't cognitive of in our conscious mind, but that we've agreed to be a part of. If you feel the influence of the United States at all, it's something of like a rupture or things coming to light. Pandora's box is actually trying the South Node in the 4th house. And because Pandora falls into the 12th here, but it's in Leo, that's once again, when it's trying the South Node in the 4th house, the South Node is also then in fire because it's Sagittarius. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see the tiny little wording for the asteroids, but if you notice, like at the end of Aries, there's Mars and Black Moon Lilith, and then looking down, there's the South Node. He is still at the gate of the gods. So that's, of course, things that coming in from other places too. And then Sphinx and then Pandora's box there. And then we have Sphinx and Vesta up in Leo, and they're trying America and Chiron. And so big things like happening with the United States. I don't have other countries' asteroids in here just because I live in the United States. And I know from being in Europe that you see everything pretty much what's going on here. So, so that's interesting. And that could have to do with money. It's interesting to me, too, that corporations, like during this pandemic, the wealth of the wealthy has grown exponentially, and then the working people now are not even able to make their bills and being put out on the street, but the stock market is completely recovered. So, it's again the disparity, and we need to, it's such an imbalance and it's not sustainable. So we need something to happen that balances it out. Now, does that mean that the banks are going to fall anytime soon? I don't know. I wouldn't say looking at this chart that that's a heartbeat away. But of course, that can change. I'm just letting you know that they wouldn't share that specific information with anyone, because it's, again, something that's hidden, and we're waiting to see what the reveal is going to be. But the second and the eighth houses are intercepted in the universal chart, and those deal with money. And then Scorpio and Taurus are also intercepted, and those are the traditional rulers of the second and eighth house. So there's definitely something to do with gold, with worth, with value, that is going to be playing out. But I want to read the symbols for the full moon. So it's falling at 10 degrees and 12 minutes, which, by the way, 10-12 in numerology is to clean like your space, your energy, to release toxins from the physical body, to clear the house. So if, and it's Virgo season, where, that is the cleansing time, like when it's the best time to do a cleanse and, get rid of toxins and things like that in the body. Of course, with all of that happening in Capricorn, that's still going to have things to do with digestion and excretion. So, keep that in mind as well, and cleaning out the house, maybe saging the house too, when Mars is having all of this activity with Black Moon Lilith and Aries and Pluto and Saturn. Just a good idea to maybe do the sage, the full sage, and then open all the windows up if you can. So this is the Sabian symbol, is what I'm going to read first. It's people traveling a narrow path, seeking illumination. And this is it, the show. This show is having a quest, seeking illumination, having a path, and staying on it regardless of what life throws at you. Sometimes the search for high ideals and understanding places us at odds with the more conservative and social expectations of others. It is the ability to persevere with the search, regardless of the cost, that marks the sincerity of any path or journey. You may at times have to go without some comforts or stick to a rigorous agenda. Most times this quest is very illuminating. Sometimes it's confusing. You will need to reject that which is unworthy while staying true to your objectives in order to stay focused on the goal. People on the path have a cause to follow, the promise of light at the end of the day. Sticking with objectives, being in the now, going toward the light, and spiritual journeying. And I know her name is Linda, and her last name is not coming to me, but I will put the credit in the description box below if you'd like to know where that came from. She has a Sabian symbol site that she's actually archived, but you can go on and still look up Sabian symbols. And I encourage everyone to do that for your placements. Look at the degree that it falls on, and then look at the next degree. The degree that it falls on is called the karmic degree, and the following degree is what you're moving toward. It's interesting, too, to note while we're talking about spiritual teachers that Neptune is at the degree in Pisces that speaks to the fact, it happens to be my North Node, it speaks to spiritual teachers who recognize that everyone is a teacher in their own way, that their students are their teachers, and that students recognize, too, that we're all just walking each other home. There's never anyone on a pedestal. That's the illusion. And so, we're coming into that energy too. Neptune is, of course, retrograde, and then he will move forward over these degrees again. And then the Chandra symbol is three undines guarding a golden treasure at the bottom of a river. And undines are, or people pronounce it different ways, but they are spiritual, or sorry, water nymphs. Okay, spiritual. They're water nymphs and water spirits. And so something of treasure, and then deep water, of course, because we're talking about Pisces and coming into the inner sanctuary. The water houses begin with Cancer, the moon, the mother energy, and the soft glow of the silvery moon. And then we move into Scorpio, where we do the deep psychological work. Cancer, we're more doing the heart. And then Pisces, we come into the water, where we learn how to stand like Triton with our feet in the bed of the ocean and standing strong with that trident and not allowing ourselves to be pushed over by the waves, being able to conquer the waves, the waves of whatever it is that's coming, a pandemic, what have you, a violence that's going on everywhere right now too. And so it's really being able to like stick to what you know and in your soul, and being able to hear from your soul, who is longing to commune with you. And I already talked about Poseidon. And so the Azov symbol too is the moon pulling on the liquids in the bodies of sleepers. And I find it very helpful, and this may be helpful for you too, because Mars, it can be, cause a lot of anxiety, and especially when he's in these squares with all of these planets, which he will begin to square again as he starts moving back pretty soon. That asking, making part of your routine in the morning, asking for the cool blue ray of Mother Mary or Michael to fill the waters in your body, and it will just send peace and calm through all of the water, all of the water that surrounds the brain. And we're made up of a lot of water. And so when you do that, you'll really come to a sense of peace and tranquility, and it's easier to not get attached or worry so much about what's happening out there, because it's going to be continuing. So let's talk about then moving forward. So, of course, the sun is trine Uranus, and the moon is in a sextile to Uranus for the full moon. And so that's going to involve something of a choice and, releasing, but also revelations coming. It's funny I said revolutions, isn't it? Revelations coming up, and maybe having like an inner revolution, because he threw that in. Uranus does rule revolutions. And he's in the ninth house, which is traditionally the Sagittarius house, where it's the aspect of the higher consciousness and our own inner wisdom, our own inner guidance that comes from the soul. And he is the traditional ruler. Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces, and he's very close with Poseidon right now too. And Poseidon also, on a spiritual level in astrology, that asteroid is talking about, allowing like things that erupt like from the deep to come forward to be released. So, if you can plan a little ceremony for doing releasing, or, whatever it is that you choose to do with your spiritual practice, just, I a lot of times ask the creator to just take whatever the concerns and worries from me, and I can feel it like lifting off of me. Or it's typically actually that the backpack sort of feels like it falls off of my shoulders and then it goes down through the earth, because that's the way to transmute the bigger loads that we're carrying too. On September 4th then, Mercury will sextile Venus as Venus moves into a square with Mars. So that could be an ending of a relationship, something leaving, but that's a choice that's going to happen. The day before that, I should have said, Mercury trine Saturn. And so if there is something that comes up during the full moon, And it could be because of Venus's involvement there. It could be like a secret involving some partner. It doesn't mean necessarily that it would be a romantic partner. Venus is in the 11th house, and so that's more a signal to, or a heads up to friends or social groups. Maybe it could have something to do with people online as well. But when Mercury is trining Saturn, then it's like a solution energy, even though Saturn is retrograde, or it could be something that comes to mind that you've forgotten about, something that you need to get accomplished, like paperwork wise, with contracts, something like that. On the 5th, Mercury will enter Libra, and then we'll all be coming from a place of diplomacy and reconciliation and harmony and balance. So that will be nice when Mercury enters Libra. He flew through he's exalted in Virgo, so he really was booking through Virgo. And then on September 23rd, Mercury will enter shadow while he is in Libra. On the 25th, he is going to move into Scorpio. He will not move retrograde until October 14th, and retrogrades always last 3 weeks. So just keep those dates in mind, that September 23rd, Mercury is going to move into shadow. It doesn't mean like necessarily, I usually ask for protection for all of my technology and my appliances when Mercury is about to go retrograde, because they feel that energy so much and it can affect transmissions, is what Metatron is saying. And then on the 6th of September, Venus will move into Leo, and so Venus in Leo is a lot of fun, and so try to get dressed up, do a little something special for yourself. She will be there until October 3rd, and then on the 6th Mars will reach his degree of retrograde, which is 28 degrees and change of Aries. And so we look at that more as the anaretic degree, which is very significant. And so this is about releasing, like I said, the patterns of the self and the I am, and what follows that I am blank. And so really renewing like affirmations, maybe writing them out on a note card, and putting them in different places in your house. When I was first beginning this journey, I had a whole list of affirmations that I would say every morning to myself, and I would sometimes repeat them over and over as I was walking through the woods. I do that still on days where I'm feeling a little low. That's always helpful to do. And then the 9th through the 11th, the 9th, Mars will move retrograde until November 14th. So he went into shadow. Oh, shoot, I meant to write that down. Oh, July 26th. So whatever has been playing out for you since the end of July, that's going to be what you're going over, what you're working through, what you're releasing, what you're finding like a different approach to during this Mars retrograde. Retrogrades are always mainly internal. We're looking back to things, we're going over things from the past, and then, like I said, November 14th. Now, it's interesting that Mars has not been retrograde just in Aries, because he's not going into Taurus or back into Pisces, but Mars has not been retrograde in his own sign of Aries since 1988. So think back to 1988. So this would be, something that we're like a culmination, he's saying, of what has gone on since then, and then releasing that story and starting to put into action the new patterns that we're setting. Of course, with the sun in Virgo, as Mars begins his retrograde, then we're talking about, how we treat ourselves, what our rituals of self-care is, how do we speak to ourselves, and how do we take practical measures in order to bring the dream to fruition. That's the Pisces Virgo axis. Yes, service is great, and I love to serve, but I also recognize that we don't need to be making a sacrifice in order to serve. And that was like the gist of the class that I taught, because it was the Virgo Pisces axis. And all I did in that class, we removed like over 30 programs that are in the human, like it's like human condition, as what Metatron is saying. That they were all like universally, that humans like come in with this story. And so we were transmuting those to the higher vibration of the, Neptune, Mercury story, the Virgo Pisces axis. So we're talking about inner trust and letting go of victimhood. That's going to be a huge part of this story with this full moon. And then recognizing that you have a creative like having some sort of creative outlet. If you don't know what it is, start doing things and find out, what it is. If you think you might enjoy writing, or that was something you liked as a child, just start journaling. Don't make it for anyone else to see. But, however you express your creativity, this is the time that he was talking about doing it. Pisces is ultimately too creative imagination and inspiration that comes like direct from the creator, and where we're able to pull that in and make it part of what is happening, our story on Earth, or the story of Earth, he's saying. And just also he was speaking to I lost the umbrella, the perfection of our lives. And instead of looking back at the past with regret and sorrow, focusing on what the benefits were and the lessons that we took from what happened, instead of it being that things were done to us, more saying, why did I allow that to happen? What was the lesson that I gleaned from that? Because when we're blaming someone outside of ourselves for what went down, we're surrendering our power to them. And that's when we're not recognizing like how powerful the soul is, and that the soul had a reason for making those choices and wanted us to have this experience for whatever reason. I need to just, it got stuck on the gutter a while ago, and it was perfect. It was like exactly where it needed to be. So now I'm trying to get it to stick to the gutter again. I don't think that's happening. Sorry. So yeah, and Metatron asked me to read a message from our soul. I'm probably going to cry, but you'll recognize the song. This is I'm Already There by oh shoot, you guys, I know who it's Lone Star. So I'm not going to read the entire song because it's actually meant to be a romantic song. But what you find out eventually is that your soul, this is you and your soul. This is you and your soul. And everything else is an illusion. And so the signs that you see, like when the hawk came by, things that go on that only you understand the meaning of the signs, those are from your soul. Those signs are from your soul. And of course the creator, but as a part of your soul. Okay. And he was talking, of course, about, us looking for love outside of ourselves, instead of recognizing that the love that we're frantically searching for out there is actually all inside, and falling in love with ourselves and recognizing that our soul loves and adores us. Sorry. So this is like what your soul is saying to you to think about, like as you go through your day. I'm already there. Don't make a sound. I'm the beat in your heart. I'm the moonlight shining down. I'm the whisper in the wind, and I'll be there until the end. Can you feel the love that we share? I'm already there. We may be 1,000 miles apart, but I'll be with you wherever you are. I'm already there. Take a look around. So just recognizing and appreciating that all of the little synchronicities and things that happen to you throughout your day, and when you're giving gratitude for your blessings and your happiness, that those are gifts from your soul. Your soul loves and approves of you and can bring us the fulfillment that we seek from others. And when we come into that sense of fulfillment and happiness and harmony within the self, that is when the partner appears. It's never about a person. It could have been that person 20, 30 years ago, but timelines move and timelines change and shift, and we don't need to understand how that all works out. But the partner who is the actual partner, the divine life partner, will make his or her way to you when the timing is right. And we've come to that place, that inner sanctum, is what he's saying now, of peace and harmony within ourselves, and recognizing that we're worthy and deserving of achieving the goals that we set for ourselves. And if you do question, like, what am I supposed to do? That's always the biggest question. Start doing it. Start doing whatever makes you happy. It's to put your foot out. You will find that place. If that's not what's meant to be for you, then other things will come along. But the universe meets us where we are. So when we make a move forward, when we take a step, the universe rushes in to catch us, is what Metatron is saying. That it's a bit like jumping off the cliff. And I'll tell the story again. I know I've shared it. But when I went, it was tandem. I know. Oh, no, is it paragliding? Yeah. Not when you're like on the boat. I've done that too, but this is where you jump off with just you're holding onto a kite. And so I did it at Black Beach in San Diego, and there's cliffs, and you're standing at the top of the hill, and they tell you, like, run as fast as you can. And that day they wouldn't even take my son because it was so windy. And so as we jumped off the cliff, we went so high that my little ride ended up being closer to 40 minutes, which was twice the amount of time, because we soared so high we couldn't come down. We had to go way inland to finally land, because the guy was like, we really need to be done now. And he just couldn't find a place where the wind wasn't catching us. But it was truly amazing. And so that's what he is telling me for you to envision, that you're taking that step. He's saying trusting the magic within yourself and the harmony that exists between yourself and your soul, and noticing that your soul will not just catch you when you make the leap, that your soul will actually help you to soar. So, all right, everybody. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so emotional today. Anyway, everybody, I hope you found this helpful. And I love hearing from you guys. I have openings. I wanted to mention that I do have openings now in October. I have quite a few. I know a lot of people like to do sessions for Christmas, so I would just encourage you, because I'll be taking some time off over the holidays, to maybe make that appointment coming up pretty soon, so that you don't miss the Christmas time, if that's what you're interested in. But yeah, we're going to start, and people are asking about the Emerald Fire meetings. I'm not going to be a part of the Emerald Fire any longer, and I knew that when I started. Last week when I was making the video, it kept feeling like a hair was on my nose, and then I realized they just wanted me to touch my nose, because that's like a thing. But yeah, I will no longer be calling it the Emerald Fire. We're going to call it Egeria's circle. Egeria was a prophetess, and a water nymph in other mythology. So we'll go over that when those meetings start back up again. But we'll have a different kind of venue, and we'll be doing the meetings in a different way. But we will be starting that again in the fall, as soon as I'm given the heads up that this is the time to be doing that. But you can always go in the link down in the description box. The Vimeo meetings, the Vimeo videos, they're free, and you can do that work anytime. It doesn't ever expire, as what Metatron is saying. It's always valid. So anyway, everybody, enjoy this next couple of weeks. I'm not sure when I'd like to do the election or the campaign video coming up pretty soon. I also owe you a twin flame video. So, all right, everybody, sending you so much love. Take care.